Okay, so after years of waiting for this film, the Fantastic Four First Steps is finally done and dusted, generally speaking. I thought it was a pretty good movie.
Uh-oh, Dave has been compromised. They probably bought him off. Okay, Dave, how much are they paying you to shill this movie?
Whatever. So, spoilers ahead for the Fantastic Four First Steps if you haven't seen it. Look, I do think this is a better movie than Superman, than James Gunn's Superman. I gave that film 6.5 out of 10. I didn't love it. But this film, Fantastic Four First Steps, I think is a solid 7 to 7.5 out of 10. First things first, as many have said, the 1960s retro future aesthetic of the world these characters inhabit is brilliantly realized. And it's genuinely very believable, actually. Visually, the film looks just great. And the CGI is really good. New York looks fantastic. It's a warm, cozy world. And I'd love to spend more time in this place. A TV show in this setting would be great. I will say, yes, I think it's the best Fantastic Four film to date, though the bar wasn't exactly high before, was it? The story is simple enough. Galactus will destroy Earth 828, where the film takes place, unless the team give up the child of Sue Storm and Reed Richards, which is baby Franklin. No one knows if the baby is going to be gifted with superpowers like his parents, and the female Silver Surfer is Galactus' henchman, or henchwoman, a typical reluctant second-in-command villain who ultimately turns on Galactus in a predictable manner and helps out our heroes in the end. Another real positive is the fact that this team works brilliantly together. There's a real cohesion between the whole team. We see them working in a way that is very satisfying as well, incorporating their superpowers into different situations in ways that are really quite awesome. I'm glad to say that the early suggestions of an emasculated Johnny Storm were untrue. He still very much loves the ladies. I think he's a strong character. Sue Storm isn't too girl bossy either, except she does become almost godlike by the end with her force field powers in order to stop Galactus. And the Silver Surfer basically delivers the kill shot on him, pushing him into the wormhole thing and transporting him away. It's kind of like the ladies saved the day in the end. So just an FYI there. But I liked Johnny Storm and Ben Grimm. I think their dynamic was cool. They were probably the highlight of the film for me. Great banter between the two of them. Joseph Quinn and Ebon Moss-Backrack were wonderful. Now, I think despite all of the criticisms of how prolific Pedro Pascal is in Hollywood right now, that is certainly true, he did put in a good performance in this movie, but his character is written to be far too unsure of himself, and he's constantly in this state of self-doubt, second-guessing himself, which I think makes him at times a frustrating character to root for. Sue Storm is played really well by Vanessa Kirby. She's really solid, and Sue Storm is a very passionate and likable character. I will say that the entire cast have excellent on-screen chemistry together. One of the biggest positives of this film is that it is basically completely devoid of the cheesy Marvel humor, which I have criticized many times. It's been a huge bugbearer of mine. The film actually takes itself seriously and doesn't have any of the tension-breaking ironic jokes for a change. It's wonderful to see. James Gunn's Superman was riddled with those horrible jokes. This film is a serious movie, which is incredibly welcome. And I will say, it had an interesting effect because watching this movie, it felt different to me. There was an earnestness, a purity about it, a simplicity and honesty that made the film feel like a superhero movie from the early 2000s. And I really hope this is something that continues. So please, Disney, Marvel, no more eye-rolling humor that destroys serious moments. You got it right with this film. So huge thumbs up to the writers for that one. Massive praise, well deserved. However, with all of those positives out of the way, it's time for the negatives. I really enjoyed the opening 45 minutes or so. it tips along very well in terms of pacing, but the film bogs down quite a bit in the middle. It becomes a little too slow. It drags when the team are trying to figure out what to do about the angry mob below their building because they want the team to give up Franklin to Galactus in order to save humanity. And then there's more exposition later when they're trying to find a means of dealing with Galactus, drawing him to Earth and using Franklin as bait, which was really predictable. It was fairly obvious that that's what they were going to do. Now, look, it's important that these films do offer the audience quieter, slower moments to just breathe and think about things and for the characters to process what's happening in the plot. And I'm glad this film has those moments. But at times, they're married too much into exposition, which just feels a little bit too clunky at times. The end battle is fairly paint by numbers, and I didn't find it especially satisfying as a means of defeating Galactus. Of course, we've seen almost every permutation of building smashing New York showdowns in tons of films. And this one, it didn't make me feel very much, to be honest. It wasn't the most exciting final battle of a film I've ever seen. It's okay, it does the job. But I think it lets the movie down, actually, considering how good the film was up until the final act. Sue Storm is killed off and then magically brought back to life by Franklin. And you're thinking, so is that death cured now, is it? Have they cured death forever? This child can just bring people back from the dead. These are the kinds of consequence-destroying moments that sort of undermine the stakes. And it reminds me of Kirk when he's killed off in Star Trek Into Darkness, and Bones cures him with the blood from the super enhanced Tribble. If it's possible to do that, then I guess no one would ever die again. Anyway, to reiterate, Reed Richards wasn't a strong enough leading man for me. It doesn't feel like he's large and in charge and just taking command. I would have preferred someone else in the role. But more than that, the writing for the character needed to be stronger. He's too melancholic and riddled with insecurity. Overall, however, I felt like I was watching a Marvel movie that was at least as good as an average Phase 2 or Phase 3 film, which is obviously a positive thing to say, given the general poor quality of a lot of MCU movies of late. Yeah, I mean, this is among the better films since Endgame. So, yeah, I think it did its job. It entertained me. Like I say, to sound like a broken record, the setting is brilliantly realized. And I didn't feel like I was watching an MCU film necessarily. I felt like I was watching something genuinely refreshing and new. Like I say, I think this is a better film than Superman. And if you had to choose one film to watch out of these two, I think Fantastic Four First Steps is the best choice. That's going to do it for today. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell to be notified of future updates as well. Hit that like button, share the video, take care, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye-bye.